You've tuned in to Turn the Pages, and I am your host, Jordan Rivers. I am so happy this is our last episode of the season. So I'm happy that we got through the season. We discussed a lot of different topics from education and how literacy affects education and the community and how to build communities. We have had some amazing guests, amazing, from teachers to community activists. And parents. We had a parent, so we were able to get a lot of people's viewpoints on just how to make our communities better. And I think once we hit our Black History Month, the show just kind of took a different turn than what we expected, because there's so much to learn. And I always want to make sure that I'm always putting out positive information about just the community, Black people in general, and how to better our kids. So I want to go over a few things. So remember, if you have any questions, call in before 7:20 so that I can make sure that we take your call. So first, I do want to say thank you to CAN TV, and also thank you to Carnedra Clark and Christine Coates. You do not see them in the background producing or answering phones or anything that needs to be done when the show is happening. So I just first want to give a nice warm shout out to them. This could not be possible without their help. So always make sure that you appreciate the people that help push you forward. And so that's a good way to support your community. So if you know that there's something positive going on with children, I encourage you to be a part of it. So let's get to business. I actually want to take you over to the Turn the Pages website. Now, I always send you there, and it's www.turn-the-pages.org. So, as you can see, we have had a facelift from what you have seen the very first episode of the season. So if you don't know, Turn the Pages, we are an organization geared towards supporting literacy. And I'm also a children's author. So there are tours that happen at Turn the Pages where I go into the school systems, the libraries, and now we're heading into bookstores so that we can I can read the books to kids, take pictures with the families on a red carpet, and do art projects. So I just want you to take a look at the pictures and scroll through the website when you can. But I also want to show our PSA because it is awesome. So you can see this PSA on CAN TV throughout the remainder of the year. So here it goes. At Turn the Pages, we are changing lives one page at a time. Our mission is to promote literacy and increase the love of reading among children, middle-aged readers, and teens. At our school library and bookstore visits, children and families have the opportunity to hear authors read, interact with the characters from the book, create amazing art projects based off of the books, and have their pictures taken on the red carpet, and much more. For more information, please visit our website. So that's our PSA. I was very excited to actually, film it. So it's a big thing for us to be able to go throughout communities and encourage literacy among children and families. So I want to go right into talking about Bernie's Book Bank. This is, I have some information that I received specifically from their website. So last week we talked about Black boys and them may having trouble reading and all of that, and how, there's jail time depending on if they are illiterate or not. So I want to explain to you that it's not just a problem with Black boys. It's a problem with kids around the world. And so on Bernie's Book Bank site, they say a child's pursuit of happiness in life is predicted on two things: who they know and what they know. Children born into poverty have no control over who they know. Their only way to succeed in life is through what they know, making reading the single most important skill a child needs to learn. So in order to get ahead in life, you need to know how to read and comprehend. because even if you don't have an education after high school, reading can still take you places. So I just want you all to remember that. So I want to go over some facts about literacy. Having books in the home is twice as important as the father's educational level. So that's very important, because a lot of statistics, they talk about when you have a two-parent home or one-parent home and one does not have an education maybe after high school, that the children are less likely to attend a college and be focused on a career. So having books in the home is important. The single most significant factor influencing a child's early educational success is an introduction to books. And I think one of the questions that we really need to ask is, are there enough resources out here for us? That's what we need to know. So I'm going to continue because there's a lot that I want to talk about. And as always, we only have 25 minutes. So I'm going to try to wrap up as much as I can. But stay tuned, because you'll get the sneak peek into what we'll be talking about next season. And I think you will all be pleased. So 2/3 of students who cannot read proficiently by the end of the 4th grade will end up in jail or on welfare. Again, reading is important. And the biggest issue about literacy is that people don't think it's an issue. Period. If you don't think that it's important for your child to read on a regular basis, then you are definitely part of the problem. This goes beyond just school itself. It's life. And in order for any child to get ahead and have a career and be able to go to college, they have to be able to read, or they will always struggle. Always. So in middle income neighborhoods, the ratio of books per child is 13:1. In low income neighborhoods, the ratio is one age appropriate book for every 300 children. My biggest issue with this is that people do not think properly when it comes to sometimes educating your children. If you can afford to buy a $400 weave, then there's no reason why you don't have a bookshelf with books for your children. All you have to do is change your mentality and reallocate your funds so that this will never be an issue again. There are 2.7 million people in Chicago as of 2016, and there are 80 Chicago public libraries. If you cannot afford a book, whatever your income may be, then you can always go to the library. Use that library card the same way you use your link card. Okay? So, let's talk about how 80% of preschool and after-school programs serving low-income populations have no age-appropriate books for their children. Again, to me, I feel like this should not even be an issue. You have tax time, you have aunties and uncles, and you have a village. If you simply cannot afford books, then maybe you should get a job that can pay you enough to maybe purchase one book a month. You don't have to go out and spend $500 at one time for a library. You can do things little by little, because this actually improves the quality of your child's life and yours. 61% of low-income families have no books at all in their homes for their children. Again, use that library card like you use your link card. Call somebody up if you owe money on their card and say, hey, can I use that library card? Because again, they don't have a problem with calling you and asking to borrow your link card to buy that pop or that birthday cake for that baby. So, priorities, get them together. Perhaps the most serious problem with current literacy campaigns is that they ignore and even divert attention from the real problem: lack of access to books for children in poverty. On the very first episode of Turn the Pages, we talked about poverty and that there are different definitions of poverty, and I believe there were about 5. So we discussed that the worst poverty may not have been in America. It was probably in a different country. However, Again, we have the library. There are so many nonprofit organizations out here to help you with getting books. For example, Bernie's Book Bank. So please, when you get the chance, look them up to see how you can get your child's library together. When the state of Arizona projects how many prison beds it will need, it factors in the number of kids who read well in fourth grade. In other words, if your child is behind in reading in fourth grade, especially in the state of Arizona, then statistics say that they're either going to be in jail, dead, or on welfare. That is serious. We're just talking about Arizona at this moment. We're not talking about the city of Chicago. And you see what goes on in the city of Chicago. If a lot of our men were actually educated or encouraged by families and communities to read, would we really have all this violence that we have? You have to sit and think about what is really the problem here. The lack of resources, or the fact that you don't care enough to encourage your community and the people in the very home that you live in to do their very best. And unfortunately, that means reading. Probably something that you might not want your kids to do or don't pay attention to. I'm not sure. I'm actually at a loss of words. All of my friends who have children, we are probably their biggest enemies because we make them do what they are supposed to do from home to school. So if you change the way that you think and take responsibility for your actions, these statistics may not be true in years to come, but we'll never know if we don't come together and help our children, help our communities. The most, let's go to out of school reading habits of students have shown that even 15 minutes a day of independent reading can expose students to more than 1 million words of text in a year. That is extremely important. Your vocabulary definitely at some level takes you to a career, to college, a great high school. It helps. When you think about preparation in life, especially when it comes to dealing with education, it's all about testing. And when you take the SATs and the ACTs and you get into the testing of it, they want to score you on vocabulary, your math, everything. So in order for you to even pass the test, you have to be able to read, you have to be able to comprehend, and that means that you would have to have a good track record in elementary school as well as high school to make sure that you can pass these tests that will help get you into college and get you scholarships. So reading is definitely important. So I'm going to end that on that note. Definitely check out Bernie's Book Bank. It's a great organization. The team and I have volunteered there before, and I just want to make sure that you know that they actually exist, and it could definitely be a blessing. So look into it. So let's talk about the top 10 things teachers wish parents would do. So be involved. They want parent involvement because it helps student learns, it improves schools, and helps teachers work with you to help your children succeed. So in a lot of schools, we don't have parent involvement. We had Mrs. Simmons here, a teacher. I want to say maybe between the first 3 episodes, she was actually here and she talked about the parent involvement and how big of a role that actually is. It's so important to know when your child has homework, to know when they need to study, or not just at home, but to actually go into the school and volunteer. Maybe one day. One day is all it takes to kind of get an idea. Maybe not so much an accurate idea of what the teacher goes through, but just to show yourself actually allows the teachers and the staff to see that you are going to be a hands-on parent, and it will definitely help in so many ways. Provide resources at home for learning. Utilize your local library. Again, we have 80 public libraries here in Chicago. Have books and magazines available in your home. So instead of buying your kid junk food for the day, maybe go and grab a magazine that they would be interested in. Google magazines for children and see what comes up and see what your child is actually interested in. Set a good example. So in order to encourage your children to read, you should actually read too, and they should see you do it. So whether it's a newspaper, a book, a magazine, tablet, whatever it may be, it is very important. You know that old saying, monkey see, monkey do? Well, yeah. Allow them to see you reading and enjoying it. Encourage students to do their best in school. It's always great to be encouraged about just how well you're doing, or, just to show them that they are visible and that they matter. Encourage them. Commend them when they do well on their report cards or an assignment, or if they're struggling in a classroom, give them assistance and say, well, you know what? I know you're doing the very best that you can, and I'm so proud of you for not quitting, but let's see how many ways that we can help you get past this. That is the way you encourage. Not, I told you to get this together and you need to pay more attention. No, you're the parent. Pay attention to your child and continue to encourage them, even if they're having a rough start. Value education and seek a balance between schoolwork and outside activities. One of the things that irks my nerves is parents, especially black parents. The first thing we do is we want to put our kids in all these sports programs and make them think that that's the only way that they can get a scholarship for school. And it's not. Academics, if they're smart enough, they don't have to bounce the ball for somebody for 4 years just to go to school for free. Now, I'm not knocking that at all. If you are into sports, your kids are into sports, then that's great. But even going into the NBA, you have to retire, or the NFL, you have to retire. So what are you going to do after retirement? Because those are not, jobs or careers that you can do for 30 and 40 years unless you're going into broadcasting. So again, education is important. Reading is important. It allows kids to see who they are going to be in the future. And you need to know that. You need to know what kind of child you're dealing with so that you can deal with them a better way. And sometimes that's just about the books that they pick. And you shouldn't be ashamed if you have sons who like comics or silly books or anything like that, because they're showing their character and what they like. So then it gives you a better understanding of what they would and wouldn't do. So if a teacher approaches you and says, oh, Miss Jones, Jonathan, he really acted up in school today and he did XYZ. Well, then you probably know it's true because he read a book and the child in the book did the same thing. So if you can kind of see what I'm trying to explain here, you can understand your child's personality and other kids based off the book choices that they have or love. Recognize factors that take a toll on students' classroom performance. So consider the possible negative effects of long hours at after-school jobs or activities. Work with your children to help them maintain a balance between the responsibilities and outside commitments. So that means plan, schedule. Make sure that they're not overworking themselves because they need the proper rest, so that they can be prepared for the next day in school. And you definitely don't want them to be stressed out because of school and their curricular activities. Use pressure positively. Encourage your children to do their best and don't pressure them by setting goals too high or scheduling too many activities. Always encourage them, but watch their behavior and see how they can handle the schedules that they have. And if you feel like it's too much or they're having trouble in a class, then definitely pull back a little bit. But talk to them and let them know that they didn't do anything wrong. You just don't feel that they are ready for the type of schedule that they may choose or that you may choose. Call teachers early if you think you have a problem. So this is a big issue, and I know teachers can relate. When Mama Jones come up to the school ready to curse you out because their child failed a class, why would you wait until the last minute? So we have a caller. Thank you for calling Turn the Pages. Do you have a question or comment for me?
Yes, I do have a question
Okay.
and a comment. Okay, my comment first is I would like to share an appreciation or thanks to the Turn the Pages program for sharing some love and appreciation for giving some interest to the children, to the development of the children, and expressing how important it is to read. But by the same token, I would like to say, but the things that we are selecting or choosing for them to read, what is the image that we are presenting to the children? Because the same image, Euro-American image, is the same image that is destroying us as a people. So why can't the image be presented to the people in a more positive light? They always speak of, referring to, the black people as, African Americans, but you can't be no African Americans. First of all, when they talk about Africa, the word Africa came from a European general who conquered Hannibal, and they named the continent after him. So it's always something that the image that we're presenting to the people, presenting to the children, is something of a European descent. So now give the people, I say, pump the children up with another identity. They will reflect on who we are and what we're supposed to do for, to, and with one another.
Absolutely. I thank you so much for calling in. I appreciate your kind words a lot. It lets me know that we should definitely keep forward in our efforts. So thank you so much for calling in, and I hope you stay tuned for the rest of the show and the next season. I definitely want to speak about images. So we have 5 minutes left. So let's see how much I can get in this last 5 minutes of the season. It is very important, especially when you're talking about images and what kids see. And that's why if you have a dream, you must step up and take charge and just go for it, so that children who look like us can see more of us doing positive things, whether it's reading, writing, whatever it is that's inspirational to them in our communities, in our schools. We definitely need to step up. This is a responsibility that the entire community must do. I can't be the only one to promote literacy that's African American. There has to be more of us who are willing to work together for the greater good. And the greater good is to raise children who care about the community, the politics, and the futures of other children who are going to come up. We really need a strong support system when it comes to raising children. So therefore, I'm responsible for my friend's kid. And if she has an issue with her child, then it is my responsibility to step in as big auntie or whoever and say, hey, let me see how I can handle this. And she would do the same for me. So when you talk about image, that's what we have to do as a people. So I don't care if you're black, if you're white, Hispanic, we all have to be responsible for each other if we are going to create geniuses and politicians who actually care about all of us, not someone who's just, has millions of dollars or someone who's poor. We need better people in this world to step forward. So hopefully we are all encouraged by each other so that every child, regardless of their ethnicity, sees themselves as heroes, because we are all heroes. So, which leads me into next season. I would have loved to go over all of this lovely stuff that I have, but I hope you tune in next season so that we are actually covering all college. So if you're interested in learning how to fill out FAFSA, searching for grants, talking to college counselors, admission reps, all of that will be covered next season. We have definitely enjoyed season 1 with all of you. I am just amazed by the response. So I just want to wrap up and say thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope that you tune in next season. I'm Jordan Rivers, your host of Turn the Pages, and I hope to see you soon.